Even though we didn't know we were that young, but I mean, we do got Indian in our family, black don't crack. So we are the younger generation. Um, the point is, we're finally separating the black vote from the Democratic Party. So that should be celebrated and that should be applauded. It doesn't matter if people decide to write in the count or write in reparations or whatever. Just the fact that we're finally breaking away from the Democratic Party is awesome. But then the gentleman said, should we be more I forget the specific words. Well, basically, should we be more self preservation, more protective, and yada, 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 more selfish, right? And yes, actually, we should be more selfish in some aspects. I was doing some research last night and just found out that in Africa, the Somalis are notoriously known as the warrior tribe, and they have already colonized other tribes in Africa, and they were the first tribe to take naval battle or like to battle on the water. So we're seeing, which we say every day, that these are colonizers. These people are here to take over, take, steal, and destroy. And they're smiling in our faces, and the Democratic Party is how they're taking over. So, two things can be true. We do need to be more selfish, and we do need to break away from the Democratic Party and try our votes in other places. Because, quite frankly, all of this is some hubbub, bubble, baloo, because we are exempt from the unfriendly laws that happen as a result of this election, and we're going to enforce that, and I'm going to keep reminding people about that this is our first election that we're voting knowing that we are exempt from unfriendly laws. I'll land my plane. Thank you.
Thank you, Blood Pack. Sexy wall with the good nails and the good hair and the good makeup. You got the flow.
What up, lady? Grand Rising. Love, peace, happiness, and reparations to you all. I was just thinking about when I look at what is happening, I say it's all a distraction because at the end of the day, I agree with Blood Pack. As long as we're not over there on the other side right now, because they're just making a mockery of our birthright. I think there's more to come if you even are considering the other side, and that is, you all know the Kamala Harris of your erasure. Ethnocide really happening, being implemented as it is right now. You won't get jobs. They're going to make sure everybody else lock up industries and keep us out. Period. That's a part of the plan. So, I mean, it's obvious. I don't care what she has to say, what he has to say. It's evident that her VP aligns with her style, which makes sense. And then on the other end, I will say at first I wasn't too happy about JD Vance's selection because I was all about Ben Carson. um, a little bit more of the peace, and he's more quieted, yes, but behind the scenes, he does wonders. Most people don't know that. But looking at his track record from his prior cabinet position, um, I saw some things. But JD Vance, right? Yes, he plays into a certain demographic on the, we'll just say the general white side, right? But he's of Scottish background, I think Scottish Irish background. He is married to an immigrant, right? And she has worked for justices of the Supreme Court. He aligns with, I went and looked at some of his policy. He aligns with the Supreme Court and the birthright for challenging the 14th Amendment. He also aligns with halting some immigration and doing a lot of things working around immigration. So I just said, okay, if some of his policies align with what I was initially stomping for with Trump, and the reason I'm selecting Trump is because of certain policies, then I'll just go ahead and go with it. But I was all for Ben Carson, being the VP choice. So at this time and in this game, and coming down to the election, I think it's just very important for us to educate our people, on why it's important for us. Whether, okay, yes, if you don't want to select Trump, although that's the way I would love for us to go as a collective, because then that'll show that we're, doing some things on the other side, and we can levy that. We can leverage that. So that's where I'm going with that, because also, standing up for the 14th Amendment and challenging the 14th Amendment, because that's the biggest, way right now, the biggest scam going is, allowing immigrants to come here and have children here, and their children automatically become citizens under the 14th Amendment. The intention of the 14th Amendment is not for immigrants. You have to be under the jurisdiction of the U.S. So I do believe their interpretation, has been flawed, and we need to get back to it. And so, with Trump challenging that and his VP willing to align with that, I think we have something that we can leverage as Americans first. And I'll land it right there.
I can respect that because I like I said, there's always a catch 22 to a lot of this stuff. But let me ask you this, sexy Raw, if you don't mind. Do you think Trump will be able to end illegal immigration here in the United States of America if he becomes president?
I do believe yes, I do believe he can. He can put in a moratorium, challenging the 14th Amendment as a way to stop the, chain migration. It's all for those that have gained citizenship here in the last, 10 years, 5 years, it can be rescinded. So for me, I see some tangibles, good tangibles right there. People are going to also begin to self, deport, because they know that Trump, the last time he was going really hard. If you pull up, there's certain articles, I'll attempt to put them in the purple pill. He was attempting to do some things with immigration by Congress. He was also stopped by his, cabinet from pushing certain policies. They thought it was too radical at the time. So even Republicans are going up against, Donald Trump as well. Certain, Republicans. I want to, put that out there as well.
Yeah, I dig that. Thank you for answering that because you didn't have to. So I appreciate you always coming up as well, spilling your information. You permit, peace to you. You got the floor, bro.
Yeah, in terms of the voting block, yeah, it would be a great impact to show statistically that there's been a decline in support. Instead of always having that 90-10 support, they need to feel 85-15. But the greatest impact would be 80-20, 70-30. Most Hispanics, they always voted 60-40. Uh, Asians, along that same line. White men, white women will split, always 50-50. But as you can see, we've been always in that 90 percentile and gets zero. Not they don't tell us we get zero. They give us the excuses why we can't get anything. But on the flip side of it is, Black Republicans also do not state what they can do for Black America if we support them either. We are the only group that don't look out for each other. Here in Jersey, there are there is an uptick of black Africans. Let me correct that. A lot of Republicans. Here in my township, there was an African Republican running and a Democrat African running. And when either or gets in as a position, they take care of their people. Why can't we have that same structure? I don't understand. Can somebody explain to me who's gonna Michael Steele, which I don't know if he was the lieutenant governor of Maryland. Very bright, very educated, bright, well rounded, black American family, black wife. he made claims that he tried to do outreach to us, which he didn't. Uh, he had the opportunity to gain more support if he would have applied himself instead of looking out for himself. And majority of black Republicans and black Democrats, their behaviors are the same. Their behaviors are the same in regarding to getting things done for us. One says, oh, they fault Tim Scott and Clarence Thomas as the root cause why black Americans can't get shit. Y'all notice that? There's always Clarence Thomas and black and Tim Scott. Oh, well, they blocked this in Congress. Really? Okay. So those two got the power of the black community in the United States. Tim Scott and Clarence Thomas. This is what Democrats is telling us. So I think the black Republicans need to step their game up too. I hate to say, damn, we have to throw a vote, but goddamn, can somebody have enough balls? If these people like Corey Bush, Jamal Bowman can lay their careers down on the line for a group of people who don't give a shit about them. Y'all notice that? Something's wrong with that? Those two get ousted by laying their careers down, supporting a group of people who don't support them. Some of us are willing to sacrifice to the point for other groups and not even our own. So what's the purpose? And in terms of the immigration stuff, Trump is going to control it. Uh, I don't think he's going to stop 100% of it because it benefits a lot of these companies too. Hell, listeria is growing in a lot of the foods. Y'all notice that? And you know why? Look who's cleaning these goddamn manufacturing companies at night. They contracted that work out. There's a reason why. Will he end it? I don't think he'll end it, like come to the hard stop. No. But will he control it? Yeah. If you do a crime and you don't belong over here, get your ass out of here. But also we have to remember too, criminal justice reform in these prisons. Remember, in New York City, is going to close Rikers Island down. Now they not even thinking about it. You know why? Watch what happens to the prison system. Because these individuals over here that's here illegally, especially in these sanctuary cities and states, who you think is going to fill up these prisons? It ain't enough for us anymore, so they have to go to the next group. So it's also going to benefit them. I just want to keep in mind about that. It's a full circle with some of this stuff. And I'll land.
Thank you. Hey Batman, do you mind if I get to Mama Flips real quick and then I'll come back to you?
Not at all. Do
Thank
you?
you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Mama Flips, peace to you with the good hairline and the good eyebrows. And I like how your ears sit up on the side of your head to bring out the color in your nose. You got the floor.
Hey, Kush. Hey, you permit. Hey, sexy Ron. Hey to everyone in the room. Now I'm having a problem these past few days where I can't see Twitter Spaces at the top. I gotta actually look for people names. I had to search names this morning, but whatever. I don't know if anybody else having that problem. But who is Tim Waltz? To be honest with you, I think that just hearing him speak, he has a personality that people will be attracted to just hearing him speak. As far as the VP pick, I'm hearing that people in the military are upset that that they're saying that he's lying about some of his military service, but that needs to be looked into. I just want to piggyback off of what you permitted saying. I'm voting for Trump. Do I think he can? All these immigrants are going to leave when Trump is in office? No, because if you're not penalizing the employers, then they're never going to leave. But the ones who commit crimes, they definitely should leave or whatever. I don't think that we should have them go out on bail. No, just lock them up until they're able to go back goddamn home. Um, I just think if Kamala gets in office, I think we're done for. I don't know what's going on with my people. But like I said previously, I'm turning my back on a lot of people who've come out.
Is it me or was she in the Matrix?
She is. I can hear you fine.
Mama Flip, say something.
Gets elected. It's just you know that.
Okay, because you kind of going in and out. I'm gonna wait for her to come back. But yeah, no, it's just yeah. There's like I said, there's always a catch-22 to both sides, and I don't think a lot of people just want to people just want to focus on one side of it and not the entire aspect of it all. I do have an issue with his whole military situation. It does need to be looked into because I've never heard of a Black American lying about their status in the military. Never heard about that. I think that's effing weird. Go ahead, Batman. You got the floor, and we'll get to Immortal.
Thank you. I've got 4 points, and they're all brief. JD Vance is very articulate. This is the first one. The second one, I believe it was, can't remember. Sexy Raw talked about our people leaving the Democratic Party, which equates to our people leaving the plantation. And everybody was back then was not willing to, ready to get off the plantation. A lot were afraid to, in terms of what you're familiar with is better than what you don't know. It was like where we're going to go, what we're going to do. So I get people being afraid to leave the Democratic Party. Um, I think you permit talked about the 14th Amendment. Ann Coulter, there's a video of her talking about the 14th Amendment, and I put it in the purple pill, saying that the 14th Amendment is for freedmen, for Black Americans. It's not for illegals to, at 8 months pregnant, come across the border and drop an anchor baby. It's not for them. I really don't know Ann Coulter where she's coming from. I mean, I'm not trying to, blow her dress up and say she's all that. She just says some shit that is true. What's her agenda? I don't know, but uh, she's right on point when it comes to that. So I had to say, hey, listen to the clip. At least reinforces what we our position. The last point is Venezuela is what I understand is, and a lot of other countries are emptying their prisons and sending those prisoners our way, um, and they're doing crimes here. And from what I understand, they're told to do those crimes. There was a situation that came across my feed where a family was having a birthday party for their child in their backyard. Some It was an illegal immigrant came into their yard with a weapon, um, and dad subdued the illegal immigrant, and dad got arrested. The police took the illegal immigrant into custody but did not arrest him. When questioned, the illegal immigrant said he was told to do what he was ready to do, do damage to local to people here in the United States. That was one of the conditions for him being released from Venezuela. So I'm just saying, be careful. We got that kind of stuff going on, and the prisons may not be necessary if they're sent here to do crimes. Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate you coming in. We'll get to Immortal and then Laylo Brown. Go ahead, Immortal. Peace to you. You got the floor.
Greetings. Thanks for the space and everything. I was listening to the conversation. Um, who is Tim Walz? Why VP picks him? You know, Tim Walz, who is he? He's a white supremacist, stomp down white supremacist, just like the VP that Trump picked. The Republican Party is an anti-black organization. They believe in redlining. They believe in police being allowed, well, not even police, slave catchers. They believe in slave catchers. The Republican Party does. They believe in redlining. They believe in you being harmed. They're against reparations. Publicly have come out and made statements say they're against it. Then you go to the Democrats, same thing. They believe in race soldiers. They believe in redlining you. They believe in the new Jim Crow era for you. There is no refuge on either side of those parties. There is no VP candidate that they're picking who's going to be better for you. As far as the immigration issue, this is not the first time our ethnic group has faced this. This may be the first time many of us have experienced this in our lifetime, but this is a recurring pattern. These white supremacists don't have any new tricks. They just put different dressing on them. So we remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King when he talked about how they were bringing them over here and giving them everything, billions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. At the very same time when they refused to give us any land. And now we seeing immigrants come in, millions of billions, billions going into the trillions of dollars being spent on them to give them an economic base and undergird those peasants from South America. There is no, you don't have a dog in this fight. What you can do, what you can do is use your vote strategically. That's how you handle being in the face of two white supremacist parties who have the same idea for you. I think I said in the space yesterday, they got the Republicans, if you're talking about Trump, he did an executive order for Asians uh, to enhance their businesses. Go look it up. He did that executive order. If you're talking about Biden, he fought for and signed into law uh, the Stop Asian Hate Crime bill. So they agree on what to do about Asians. They agree that Asians should be supported socially, economically, the whole thing. And they agree about you. There's no time for to put our head in the sand on these points. No time to put our head. So what are we going to do? Let's be so okay. Immortal, be solution oriented. Your solutions are things that people have already said in this room. Um, use your vote strategically. Correct. I think we should either no tangibles, no vote, not the couch, no.
Did he just go out? Can anybody hear Immortal? Oh, okay. He requesting it. My bad. I'm there tripping like a weirdo.
I can hear you, but not him.
Okay, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I smell you too. Yeah, you good.
Okay, so yeah, they kicked that. My phone just glitched and kicked me smooth out of spaces. It looked like Sexy Raw her. She having connection issues too now, so they mad because I'm telling you this now because you don't want they don't want me to get to the solution part. The solutions. Don't give your vote to anyone who have come out publicly against reparations. Just don't do it. They not the immigration thing is not enough for you to overlook that. Let me find the key. The immigration thing is not enough for you to overlook that. Um, the black majority state, that's vital. That is a tactic that can on no account be neglected. There's no reason that we shouldn't be trying to get control of these states, several of them. There's no reason not to. Um, that's how you're going to get control over the federal government. The federal government does what you know operates on what the states want. There's things called states' rights. We need that because we don't have federal rights. We don't have any rights that they recognize. Shout out to Dred Scott. We don't have no rights that they're recognizing. So you have to go take power, and you can take power by using your numbers to take over a state. And I just want to land it by kind of telling you that black majority state advocacy does not mean everybody black moves to one of them states. That's not what it means. If you like where you live, if you're successful where you are, there's no reason for you to leave, you know. But if you want different opportunities, uh, and you're not getting the opportunities that you need where you are, then you should consider moving to the South. You just should. I'm going to retire in the South. I'm not going to stay in the North, these cold northern states. I'm going to retire to the South. So that's what you can get power like that. There's no reason not to do it. And like I say, it doesn't mean everybody has to move there. If you're in California, some of y'all love California. You're never going to leave California. That's fine. But it's a lot of people with degrees who are homeless in California. And I don't understand why they stay there. The weather really that good? Maybe I got to come out and see. But I think y'all get the point. There's no time to be wishy-washy. There's no time to choose sides between white supremacists like we did in the Civil War. And then they poked us from both sides. The brother against brother. Then they turned around and the brothers made up and they went in on us. And that's what's going to happen with this. So what we should do is allow them to fight each other. Remove the power. Don't give them, either one of them, any energy that belongs to you. Give all your energy to Black Americans and only the things that benefit Black Americans. All right, so I'm gonna land it with that. I'm moving around. I could say more, but I done got my point across.
I'm dead. Thank you, Immortal. And guys, I'm sorry, I actually misspoke. August 19th, we're gonna have a conversation about racism in health in the United States and U.S. medicine. It's kind of a little bit of a medical apartheid, and I think like that conversation needs to be had too, right? Uh, I was in a conversation in another space about it, and I think like it's just there's nothing wrong with reiterating some stuff. And again, we're gonna amplify and unify the voices of Black America sitting in the Kush Nation spaces, no matter what topic it is, right? Whether we're talking about economics or just simple political stuff as well. So make sure you guys hit that reminder. It is down in the comments. It is up there in the Jumbotron. Make sure you retweet the space. And don't forget about the subscribing to the YouTube. It is up there in the poll. The poll that we got one more day of. Let me know what you guys want to see. Let me know what you guys want to hear. Let me know. So that way we can make that the next topic for the next Black American business space. Okay? We're gonna finish up this clip because this is crazy. I'm not feeling Tim Waltz, and again, I said it before. I'm not feeling JD Vance either. I think they both musty, respectfully.
If he was essential to the unit, why would the guard just let him retire? So I think what we have here is he's played pretty fast and loose with kind of his description and describing himself perhaps as an Operation Enduring Freedom veteran, which most people think of as strictly confined to Afghanistan, though his service in Italy during the same time period is arguably characterizable as in support of that mission. I thought Peter Meyer, the former congressman from Michigan, described that well when he used the fast and loose term, and he didn't correct people who called him a combat veteran. He didn't scrupulously describe his service. I don't think that amounts to stolen valor. I think most of the public just simply doesn't have a good impression of what the wars on terror actually looked like. A very small segment of society actually served in them. And so there is this misperception out there, and I think Waltz allowed it to persist and could clear it up by apologizing for that now, but I don't quite buy it yet as stolen valor. Kim, what's your take on this? The exact quote from Walz in 2018 when he's talking about gun control is, "We can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at," unquote. And I understand the criticism that that allows a misleading perception, but he didn't say he was in a combat zone. And if you are in the National Guard and you're overseas on a base, you probably have a service weapon with you. I'm not a veteran, so that's kind of just an assumption. He's carrying some kind of gun on the base. He has access to that kind of military hardware. And I'm just skeptical that this is a very productive line of attack more broadly. I mean, we have a volunteer army, volunteer military service. Only about 1% of the U.S. population serves in uniform. And here's a guy who spent 2 decades in the National Guard honorably and is being introduced in front of democratic, progressive crowds, and they're cheering for his military service. And so I'm skeptical that Republicans are going to get a lot of juice out of this line of attack on Walz. I guess I'm where Kate is, and I would make the distinction between his actions and then later descriptions, as it were, or lack of clearing up some discrepancies about his record. On his actions, which is obviously the question of his retirement, as you say, he served for 24 years. By the way, he was in the National Guard since he was 17 years old, and that's just not something a lot of people in America can say. He gave his service and time to his country, and the retirement question, there are at least enough questions about who knew and when, and again, all these very complicated questions about why people retire. And I mean, his fellow guardsmen have a right to voice their own opinions on that, but I think it's thin gruel as an attack line politically. The descriptions part, I'm with Kate.
I'm gonna pause that real quick because now he's made a speech defending his military work record. Right? He's made the speech. This is gonna be interesting. Lord have mercy. I don't know. I don't. I think a lot of these people in this political position, they just be full of shit. I think a lot of them be full of shit. It's a damn shame. But hold on, we're gonna get into this. He defends his record. Oh, this is gonna be funny. This is gonna be funny.
Do you know what's really fun? Making a website on.
If you guys want to come on stage, go ahead and come on stage. Don't be scared. I don't know what y'all scared at, baby. Last face of the week.
Now to the race for the White House. Kamala Harris's running mate, Governor Tim Walz, headlined a solo campaign stop in L.A. today, speaking to a group of government workers. In fact, both campaigns are focusing on union labor, but with very different takes on the issue. Eyewitness News reporter Jory Rand joining us now with the latest, including why former President Donald Trump is in hot water with the United Auto Workers. Jory?
Yeah, if you can believe it, it was just 1 week ago, Mark, that Tim Walz was named Kamala Harris's running mate in this race. He's taken the role as friendly attack dog against former President Donald Trump, and that continued here in L.A.
Friendly attack dog.
Hello, Los Angeles.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz in L.A. today for his first official solo appearance as Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, speaking at a union event at the L.A. Convention Center.
And it's not just a saying, it's a fact. When unions are strong, America's strong.
Labor was thrust once again into the headlines last night when former President Donald Trump took part in a 2-hour conversation with Elon Musk and said this.
I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone.
Tonight, the United Auto Worker Union filing federal labor charges against Trump and Musk, with the National Labor Relations Board saying they advocated for the illegal firing of striking workers.
There's got to come a reckoning in this country where the billionaires and the corporate class and employers are held accountable when they break the law. It is federal law that workers have a right to strike, and you cannot be fired for striking. And, you know, Donald Trump thumbs his nose at the law.
Walz echoing that today in L.A.
That he called him a scab, just to be clear. That's not name calling, it's an observation and fact, just to be clear.
Walz also defending his military record. Over the weekend, the Harris campaign admitting that Walz misspoke back in 2018 when he said this.
And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are.
Walz was deployed during the Afghanistan war, but sent to Europe, far from combat.
And he has not spent a day in a combat zone. What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not.
I firmly believe you should never denigrate another person's service record. Anyone brave enough to put on that uniform for our great country, including my opponent, I just have a few simple words. Thank you for your service and sacrifice.
There are also questions about Tim Walz's retirement after 24 years in the Army National Guard. He's faced charges of quitting to avoid combat, but he announced his retirement months before his platoon received their deployment papers. He was also a command sergeant major when he retired, but because he hadn't spent enough time in that rank, he was demoted after retirement. But on his official governor's website, he is still referred to as command sergeant major, which has raised charges by some as stolen valor.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC.
I'm dead. Shout out to Purple Dog. I see you in the room, sis, and I see you, y'all Lotus. I see all my people. Shout out to Balance and Mama Flips and Trinity and Immortal and Batman and I Am and Blood Pack, Original Blood and Quan. And always J Smooth. J Smooth always got good credit. I just want to let y'all know that. And shout out to Black and Power in the room. Black and Power, you had a really good space yesterday. You have a really good space yesterday. You always hold good spaces, so shout out to you. Shout out to you. What's up, Patricia? I see you, girl. I see you, girl. I see you. That's my sis. All right, y'all. But yeah, but that's really what it was. So it's either he went there, he did this, he didn't do this. There's a lot of just kerfuffle that's going on. And again, a lot of military veterans have an issue with this stolen value. Stop playing. Stop laughing. Stop laughing. I'm dead. I'm serious. Um, I see how why that there's an issue. The fact that you'll lie about your service and what you did in the military is asinine. A lot of people can't get over that because we take our country seriously. We're really patriotic people. But you just came in and started learning about shit. I ain't got time, bro. I don't have time for that. Immortal Batman, y'all got any thoughts on him lying about his service in the military?
Yeah, he gonna lie about it. He want to be seen as tough. He want to be seen as a man that do things, but really he just a young punk that ran from the fight. He fled, and so yeah, that's how he fled.
Back to what I said earlier, white people will do what they got to do, say what they got to say, to be what they got to be, and get what they got to get, and they will do it until they get caught or called out. And even when they get called out, then they start fudging and correcting course. But they're gonna start out going as far as they can go until they get called on it. And I have no problem doing that. Again, it's authenticity, integrity, and all that. But um, sometimes you gotta go there. So I don't fault them for doing it. It's up to us to do our homework, do our research, do background checks, to and say, okay, he lied. He's disingenuous. He's not who I thought he was, and go another direction, or say, well, it wasn't that bad. So what? He lied about that. I'm just kind of basing, getting a dose of reality. That's the way things work, and it's not going to stop. Um, just because we're having a conversation about it, he's going to do something else, or the other side is going to say or do something else that is disingenuous or dishonest. And you just have to keep making these course corrections. So it's the nature of the beast. And I'm kind of just accepting that dose of reality and kind of growing up a little bit. Politics did not start doing this with this election. It's just more of the same. Thank you.
No, thank you. So Waltz responded to Vance's stolen valor attack, right? This is this should be killing me. I can't take neither. I can't take either side seriously to an extent. I can't. ah, fucking crazy.
A
Ugh.
guy who served in the Army during the Korean War. I signed up for the Army National Guard 2 days after my 17th birthday. I served for the next 24 years for the same reason all my brothers and sisters in uniform do. We love this country. Then in 2005, I felt the call of duty again, this time being service to my country in the halls of Congress. My students inspired me to run for that office, and I was proud to make it to Washington. I was a member of the Veterans Affairs Committee and a champion of our men and women in uniform. I'm going to say it again as clearly as I can. I am damn proud of my service to this country. And I firmly believe you should never denigrate another person's service record. To anyone brave enough to put on that uniform for our great country, including my opponent, I just have a few simple words. Thank you for your service and sacrifice.
This dude's full of shit. He's full of shit. What's up, Unhinged? If you guys haven't, make sure you guys retweet this space. Come on stage, y'all. I don't know what are y'all scared of today. Nelly, y'all be up in here trying to come on now. Come on, Black America. What's going on? Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this has just been interesting. I don't like Vance. I don't like Vance. I don't like Waltz. I don't like Harris. Trump. Kinda, kinda. I'm at odds with that. Hey, Batman, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Go for it.
Um, when it comes to, I guess you could say the situation that we're in America when we're talking about voting, like, are you more prone to vote for Trump and Vance by any chance?
And if you limit my options choices to those two, then and you someone put a gun to my head and said, "Boy, you got two choices. Which one you gonna take?" Going with Trump. Uh, Not because he's in favor of reparations or whatever. Give it to us. But it's about immigration at this point. Uh, he's not going to kick out those that are here. I don't believe that's going to happen. But he would at least decrease the number of those coming in. In other words, make an impact and change the rules and the power that they have, they being the illegal immigrants, that they have while they're here, whether it's voting, whether it's access to services, education, employment, all of that in the handouts, at least slow it down and give us a chance to make the course correction. So yeah, I would go with Trump. I'm not going with Vance. He's articulate, but it's not about Vance. It would be about what Trump can potentially do. And I understand he is packing the courts, and you know that's not necessarily to our advantage, and can and will work against us. But it has to do with this illegal immigration. We're getting overrun. So if I had to make a choice, I would go with Trump. But if I had another choice, then I would make the third choice, which would be Kennedy, just because he's in favor of reparations, and he's appears to be a straight shooter. And would I like some more flashback to Camelot? Sure, Camelot. Yeah, I love Camelot. I named my dogs after Jacqueline Lee Bouvier Kennedy and the former president. So it's like, yeah, I need a little bit of that. But Kennedy is a straight shooter, but he's in favor of reparations. He's not put a number on it. But then, to me, it's not for him to put a number on it. We need to give him the number. What are we looking for? We're always saying we need, but we as a people do not put it out there in terms of what we actually want, we actually need. Well, we say we want, and then we wait for someone else to tell us what we deserve, what we're entitled to, and we need to do better. There is a reparations plan on Marcel Dixon's website, uh, Marcel for Congress, and it has numbers in it. It's a I want to say it's a detailed plan. One link describes the plan, the other one gives you calculations, and it even talks about giving reparations into perpetuity. So the numbers are out there. Even okay, Marianne Williamson talked about $500 million, and I'm like, okay, that's a joke. Even Darity is shortchanging. It's talking about 14 trillion. It's not a joke, but it's still laughable. So the numbers are out there. We need to start talking numbers and telling those who are out there promoting reparations, which would be, let's say, Kennedy, here's what you can work with, and not leaving it up to them. Thank you.
No, thank you. Now, outside of his military status being a question, we're going to run it back to immigration again. He's holding the same stance as immigration, as Kamala Harris, and as Biden, right? And this is going to be one of the bigger issues. And this is what I was saying yesterday's space. If you guys didn't catch that, make sure you catch the replay, right? A lot of this stuff that's going on now that I think some of us are hearing are making it makes people want to look more into Vance and Trump. It's making people want to vote on that side more because we see the effects that immigration has managed to have on the United States of America. There's been a high rise of crime. There's no denying that. I think at the beginning of the year, I think some of us saw the video where the illegal immigrants were assaulting a homeless black dude out there. I think in Chicago. It might have been New York. It might have been somewhere. I know it was a black. It was probably a black American city, but we saw stuff like that. So you guys have been seeing things of like how a lot of these immigrants are now harming children. This is something that we talked about before. They started harming children. We don't know these people that are over here are SA offenders over there on their side of the world. We don't know, and we have to take precautions and deal with that as such. The fact that they can come into neighborhoods and start setting up shop, like literally having official business, that's a problem. That's a really big problem because we understand again, it takes resources out of our community. It affects the education that goes on in our community, in the schools. It affects how we eat, how we survive, what resources we're able to really ultimately get a hold of. But we can't do that if we have a lot of people coming over here. We really don't have room for them. Well, I don't think we have room for them. And it's just a mess. But this is Walter's stance on immigration. So hopefully, maybe when y'all hear this, this may direct you in a certain kind of path. I'm not telling you to go vote for Trump. That's not my place. That's your cup of tea. You got to sit from it. I don't. I'm never going to tell you where to vote. But I'm just pointing out some things that I think we all need to just reiterate and rehear. Because we're not going to act like we ain't just hear all this mess.
As Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate yesterday, there's been an increased attention spent on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and where he stands on key issues, including immigration. Walz has supported efforts to make Minnesota a sanctuary state, and as of 2022, about 9% of the state's population is made up of immigrants. Most of the immigrants who settle in the state come from Mexico, Somalia, and India, according to state data. Here with me to help break down Waltz's record on immigration is CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano. And I should say, recent immigrants, we are a nation of immigrants, but when we're talking about
the only person said that we were a nation of immigrants was Biden in 2020. BS.
Term a sanctuary state. Not everybody's as familiar with it, but it is a political football. Explain to us what Waltz's position was, what he was doing in Minnesota.
As you say, Alana, absolutely a political football. To explain what a sanctuary state, I'm going to use the opposite of what a sanctuary state is. I'm thinking something like Texas. Say, in Texas, for instance, Governor Greg Abbott, who's calling this ticket the most dangerous ever, he has implemented laws that empower local law enforcement, state law enforcement agencies to implement immigration laws. So a sanctuary state or a sanctuary city does the opposite. It prevents or it limits how much cooperation there is between local and state law enforcement and immigration agencies like ICE. So, for instance, if somebody is here in New York City, for instance, if somebody is arrested, NYPD and corrections do not call ICE and say, hey, we're about to release somebody either on bail or for whatever reason. They don't cooperate. There are laws in New York that prevent that from happening. So there is a limit on how much local law enforcement can cooperate with federal law enforcement agencies, which are the ones that actually have the jurisdiction to implement law.
Why would states want to do that? Because one of the things that Walz did was also sign a driver's license for all bail. Yeah. So explain some of the rationale about why these states decide that it's a better option to become a sanctuary city, to provide driver's licenses, regardless of one's immigration status.
So let's divide those two issues. One is the idea of a sanctuary state. What he has said in the past is that, look, cities and states are safer when you don't have local law enforcement implementing or stepping out of their jurisdiction as Congress has granted them and applying or implementing federal immigration law. Basically, immigration law is up to federal agencies, local law enforcement is up to local law enforcement agencies. What he says is, look, if you have a fear from undocumented immigrants, to call police, to cooperate with law enforcement, to say, hey, there's a crime because they fear that they're going to end up getting deported, you're going to have a less safe city. Now, on the issue of licenses, that's another law that he supported and passed in Minnesota, which allows for undocumented people to have licenses. Why does he support this? Well, he says, A, it's safer for everyone because that way everybody who is driving is going to have to get tested, is going to have to pass a test and be vetted and go through the process.
But they can't. Some of them can't read English. So what? Some of them can't read English. Some of them you have gotten. I just want to throw this out here. Just because you got a driver's license doesn't mean you know how to drive. I just want to throw that out there. 'Cause some of y'all out here on this road, y'all done lost your rabbit ass mind. Y'all be tripping. But like, look, the the driver's license issue, the immigration issue, essentially it makes it seem as if the Democratic Party has now managed to kind of shoehorn these immigrants into society, helping them acclimate into society while causing destruction in our neighborhoods. Great job.
That everybody else has to go through. And so it's safer for people because everyone on the road is expected to have, a license. People, what he says is, regardless of their immigration status, need to use cars to get to work. So if you're limiting undocumented immigrants.
But how they gonna sit up here and get to work if at one point in time they didn't have social security numbers? Now again, right? Let's talk about that real quick. Do you, Biden allowed a lot of the refugees, I think they came, it was from Ukraine, right? Whatever. They came over, they managed to get social security numbers. The immigrants that are here in the United States are not able to have access to social security. So that means Medicare, Medicaid, a lot of all that stuff. Um, and a lot of things that we as natural born Black Americans, citizens, US citizens, should have. Now, this is the issue, right? And here's the flip side of it, right? I feel like this. We pay into all that other stuff. We're not able to also take advantage of it either. So through that system of Medicare and Medicaid, uh, taxes, whether it's federal or state, they've managed to basically fund them. And that's why we were having the conversation yesterday about how these illegal immigrants are able to get all this money. When I say the receipt that we saw was like $44,000 worth of EBT cash, all that other stuff, right? That's our money sitting on their cars that they're using for their lifestyle. So now again, Waltz is all about illegal immigration, and now he wants them to have driver's licenses while they're able to take a hold of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all the stuff that we pay into as Americans. What's up? Shut up! I see you in the room. You smell nice today.
Immigrants from getting a license to going to work, to taking their kids to school, doing all of those things, then on the one hand, you can't vet.
Oh, on the work. Oh, sorry. And also on the work thing, when you go apply for a job, they ask you for two things of identification: your social security card and your birth certificate. Mm.
On the other hand, it impacts the economy because then these people are not going to be going to work. So he's saying, look, it's happening anyway. Give people licenses, allow them to contribute to the economy. And also, by the way, there's going to be more people paying for car insurance.
How are they going to contribute to the economy when they send their money back to where they're from? What's
Because you need to have a license to, of course, drive. You need to go through all those tests. And undocumented immigrants then will also be insured. And of course, there are other social reasons. He says, look, if you have a license, you're going to take your kids to school, to soccer practice. You're going to be more involved in your kids' lives.
Well, real quick, Lilia, because we heard you say that Governor Abbott said that this is dangerous. We heard Senator Vance say that this is really liberal.
Yeah.
But Waltz is from a moderate state. Are these positions liberal? Are they moderate? Where do they actually land? What's the truth?
The way that he explains them is they are practical. They are good for safety. They are good for the economy. The other side, I mean, people who oppose these laws say, especially with the driver license ones, is that allows for voter fraud to happen. But there are ways to limit that. There are ways to remove the possibility of just needing to show a license to get to vote. But I know we don't have the whole day to go into that. But this is where he says it's practical, it's good for the economy, and it's good for safety. Not
Now, I'm gonna play one more clip, and I'm sorry. 2020, Biden, reparations.
also to support compensation for those families. Should the U.S. also compensate descendants of enslaved people? Do you support reparations for African Americans? I support H.R. 40, which is the bill that has been proposed in Congress to establish a commission to look at
Stay
reparations. But
tuned, because
we shouldn't
Biden's going
wait
to explain what
for
he
that
says about
commission to do its
reparations.
work to do things that are reparative. Remember, we're not talking about a gift to anybody. We're
Make sure
talking
y'all
about
retweet this
mending
page.
what was broken. We're talking about the generational theft of the wealth of generations of African Americans. And just crossing out a racist policy and replacing it with a neutral one is not enough to deliver equality. Harms compound, just like a dollar saved in its value compounds over time. So does the value of a dollar stolen. And that is why the United States must act immediately with investments in minority-owned businesses, with investments in health equity, with investments in HBCUs, and on the longer term, look at reparations so that we can mend what has been broken. Vice President Biden, do you support reparations? Well, let me, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance.
Now, I really want y'all to
Number
listen to what
one,
he's about to
the
say.
reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America, and we should invest in them. Everybody will benefit from it, every single American, and you should get used to it. This is a nation of immigrants. That's who we are. That's why we're who we are. That's what makes us different, and we should invest in it.
That's what he said in 2020. Now we're looking forward. Now you're seeing how the investment that Biden was just talking about is giving them driver's licenses, letting them come into the country, allowing them to basically take part in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, stuff we were just over there talking about. All that is the investment that the Democratic Party is now shown inside of the illegal immigrants that have managed to come into the United States without saying to Black Americans, "Hey, I'm going to acknowledge you, and I'm going to go ahead and give you reparations in my last 5 months of my presidency, or I'm going to make it a point to strive to that and ensure that Kamani Harris and Waltz follow suit as well." That is not what we're hearing. On the flip side, Trump is not saying that either. Go ahead, Batman.
Regarding what Biden said, it's for me, it's not what he said, but how he said it. The tone, it was very scolding, corrective, uh, and it was more than just preaching and instructing. He was adamant. He was, it was like he was nasty. It's just like, if you don't agree with me, you're through. So it was more than even just a father correcting a child. Just it was his that tone. If you go back and listen to it, he's angry and demanding and corrective. So I picked up the tone more so than the actual words.
I agree, and that probably would have been the first of his dementia starting as well. Mama Flips, you have joined the stage. Go ahead, sis.
What Biden stated was disgusting. The person speaking before Biden, he was speaking about, some reparative justice toward Black Americans. Biden didn't mention, when he replied, he didn't say shit about Black Americans. He basically said Hispanics are the future. Didn't mention us. That basically means fuck y'all. You're not even worth mentioning when I talk about reparative justice, because I see Hispanics are the future. And like Batman just fucking stated, it was a very disgusting tone that Biden has with Black America when it comes to Black Americans. And yet we're the dummies who voted for him and put him in office. And like he said, you see the Hispanic investment, letting them come over here legally, giving them resources when they come over here legally. We see his Hispanic investment and it has nothing to do with us because we aren't immigrants. We aren't jumping a border anywhere. So it's like I feel like a lot of us are gonna do the same thing with goddamn Kamala. Regardless of what happens, what she says, as long as they're a Democrat, we're voting for them. Even though they're burying you. And she stated the same thing. Biden said, I'm not going to do anything specifically for black people. She's continuing with that Biden. But you have your Chucks and Pearls, your AKAs who don't care. And I can't wait. I can't wait till that Boulay crowd is out of a job. I really can't. I really can't wait until they gotta come back. With the rest of us. These people aren't goddamn balling or anything like that. They live in paycheck to paycheck like everybody else. Just they got a little fancier goddamn job title. They ain't shit. But I can't wait till everybody gets off their goddamn high horse. Kamala's continuing the Biden tradition of not doing shit for us. She's not gonna do shit for us when she becomes president. And it just is what it is. Like I'm just waiting for this election to see what black people are, what we're gonna really do. Because if we vote for Kamala, we're done.
So I can only assume by your statement you voting for Trump.
Yeah, I wanted to vote for him in 2020, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't see myself voting for a Republican at that time. I was just like, I'm just not gonna vote. But this time, it's really more of me wanting to stick it to the Democrats and just vote for Trump. That's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just sticking it to the Democrats. Like fuck it, I'm gonna really cast a vote for this man. Yep, I am.
Do you think some people would view you doing that as a revenge vote?
It is. It's kind of. It's a revenge vote, but I am voting for something too. I am voting, for his immigration policy, and he's saying that he's going to have them look at the 14th Amendment again. So I am voting for something, but it is a revenge vote.
Understood. Understood. Who just came up? Immortal, do you have anything you wanted to say? Been quiet.
No, I'm just listening for now. I'm moving around at work, but in a second I might get a chance to chime in.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Batman.
Mama just talked about the person speaking before Biden. Biden spoke with a tone, and you could pick up his message from that. The person who spoke before Biden, he said lots of good stuff about reparations and repair, but he started off with HR 40. So the moment he used that bill, which is a fake bill, it basically it was virtue signaling. You could once he said HR 40, he was about some shit because HR 40 is just a study and it's just a way of stalling and establish a commission. In other words, we're not doing anything. We're just going to keep it for 30 years or however long it's been, keep reparations tied up in talk about a commission and a study. So no, we're not doing anything for you, but we're going to talk about doing something for you. So it was virtue signaling, and it was just basically the moment he opened, whoever that was, opened their mouth and said HR 40, I stopped listening because anything that came behind that was BS. So that's how I interpreted what that person said. It sounded good, but it was some BS from the beginning.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was. I think that was that JFK Jr. RFK Jr. One of them people, one of them folk. But yeah, I don't like. Okay, even in that aspect, right now he mentioned HR 40, but and he can say that he supported. But if anybody is aware of what HR 40 is, it's just a study. It's not an actual thing of giving reparations to Black Americans. It's just a study, and we're still at that stage where we're studying reparations.
And I say HR 40, it can take the same course that Sheila Jackson Lee just took. It can go with her.
Yeah, like oh yeah, that thing. Look, that HR 40's been in that same spot as long as I've been alive. Like that's don't get me started on Sheila Jackson Lee. Did y'all hear that her daughter wanted to take her spot? Ooh, babe.
The spot she's in now.
Mhm. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. Ugh. Let me be quiet. Let me be quiet. Let me finish this up. Let me finish this clip up. They're still talking about his military record. This is crazy.
As well too. I'm not saying it's stolen valor, but there's something, and I think Kate mentioned Peter Meyer, the former congressman from Michigan. His description was more like shady, not stolen valor. And there is something, as a lot of people look, and vets in particular, they take this very seriously, their description of their rank, what they did, because they don't want to be accused and because they have so much respect for their colleagues who did partake in different activities sometimes than they did. And there is something very unsettling when people appear to use that biography, especially when you're in the world of acting for political gain. And so a lot of vets who serve in Congress are very, very scrupulous and careful about not just what they say, but also clearing it up if other people are misstating what they did.
Black and Power, peace to you. You have the floor.
Okay, you could have finished playing the clip, but good morning. Good morning.
You smell good today. No, it's a long clip. You can go ahead and go. It's a
All
really
right,
long clip.
thanks. Yeah, I wanted to. Good morning, everybody. Kush, see Mama Flips up in here. Some of the other people that I know. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a great day. Yeah, this is important. You know what's happening. A lot of people are distracted, but this election right here is going to be the make or break. If Kamala gets in, this Democratic Party, if they get back in there, our people are going to be the ones who are going to be hurting. And I know there's a lot of our people who say they don't care, it's not affecting them, it doesn't matter. I think Mama Flip said in another space, don't ask me for Apple Pay and don't ask me for a Cash App when you don't have any money because they're giving it away to every other group without any license, without any social security card, without any birth certificate. And I heard y'all talking about that when Tim Waltz, will get to him. So who is Tim Waltz? Tim Waltz is a LGBTQ All Lives Matter supporter. That's what he is. So we could just go to when they talk about people having morals. They want us as Black Americans to ignore some things, but pay attention to other things. So we know that Tim Waltz put tampons in the boys' bathroom. Why would you put tampons in a boys' bathroom? Now we know, and they're talking about from grades 4 through 12. Fourth grade, isn't that a 9-year-old? Am I mistaken by that? Do I have my math right?
No, you're right.
So, so it's okay. A 9-year-old is supposed to decipher and understand. There's tampons in the bathroom. I guess that's not for me. What they're trying to do, they're trying to groom and confuse our children. let's, let's not look past what they're trying to do. We all know as Black Americans, we separate our kids right from the beginning, boys and girls. You let them know you're a boy and you're a girl. Girls have vaginas, boys have penises, and that's just the way it is. You don't mix and match the two. But again, they only perpetrate this narrative on our group where they want to cross the lines and and everything's okay. And the group of people that this is gonna affect with those tampons and stuff in the bathroom, they're targeting our children directly, right? So there's that. And the other thing is that he gave driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. And again, we know as Black Americans, we always got to do the most. We always got to go the extra mile to get the things that we need. So to go into the DMV, you're gonna go get a driver's license. Automatically, you have to have a birth certificate, a social security card, and you have to have proof of residency. How the hell do they have any one of those things? They're illegal immigrants. So they already circumvented the system. The system that they say that we have to follow. And again, if any one of y'all have been in a state building, they don't cut you no slack when you go in there. You have to have everything that you need in order to, and these are services, by the way, that we pay taxes for. The DMV is funded by our tax dollars. So you literally gave away our money for the services that we paid to a group that haven't contributed a dime. And I don't understand how that doesn't bother some of our people. But when you look at Tim Walz, that's who this person is. He is sequentially just bad. He's just bad, right? So the other thing I wanted to comment on, when people talk about, this is another play that when people talk about that, Biden, his mind is deteriorating, he's getting old, something's wrong with him. Ain't nothing wrong with Biden, because as you could hear in that clip, when he was asked about reparations, he was very clear. Fuck you niggas. You're not getting any money. I'm giving it to the Hispanics. So it's something to be said about people, white supremacist races, when they get old. The one thing that they always remain clear on is fuck you niggas. And he was very clear on that. He was also clear when he said fuck you niggas when he was on that Zoom call with our so-called black leaders. He told them that the Hispanics outnumber us. So we're going to have to start working with them. So again, a moment of clarity, right? Um What's the other thing? Yeah, what I want to, again, they always want to tell us what is the value of moral character. What is the value of it? Because they understand that we are the epitome of moral character. So when they want to talk about uh, Trump saying, "Hey, he was grabbing one women by the pussy," okay, okay, right? Didn't we see Doug Emhoff kiss Biden's wife straight on the mouth, right? These white folks are dirty and they freaky. All of a sudden, now we're supposed to take all of these things into account and make a judgment based on moral character, and democracy has nothing to do with morals. It's obvious, right? So we need to just stick to what the policies are. As you can see on the timeline, we have our black celebrity sellouts. Uh, They love the way Kamala smiles. She's very nice to children. Um, these are all of the things we're supposed to vote for. That is the level of what we should expect from our politicians. And the questions I pose to them on the timeline is, what policies does she have that are specifically for Black Americans? And you never get a response. But I land right there.
Shout out to you, Black Empower. Make sure y'all follow, guys. If you haven't, make sure if you guys aren't following each other, make sure y'all follow each other. You know what I'm talking about? Let's really get this popping. But thank you, Black Empower, because you really hit on the head with that. And we're gonna get into this clip about him basically signing the executive order of protecting gender affirmating care. Sister, I am. You have the floor. You smell real nice today.
I peace out, Negro reparations family. Hope everyone has a prosperous, productive, and whew, day. Excuse me, a little winded walking these big ass dogs. But yeah, I just wanted to say that the DMV is not funded by the federal government. Once in a blue moon, the federal government will send them some money. But like the post office, they are funded by their fees. So when you buy a license and tags and all of that shit, that's what funds them. Just like the post office, when you buy stamps and postage and all that shit, that's their money. Pretty much the only time the federal government will step in on the both of those two entities is when they're doing bad, and then they'll give them some money. Otherwise, they won't. And that really, with the DMV, that will come from the state. It really won't first before it comes from the federal government. Um, to speaking on what's going on, I've been saying this for a while, and I'm gonna continue to say it. We have to get out in the streets and talk to our people. We have to. We're focusing on this election when we should be focusing on this and 2028 and every local election, state and on the city level. We have a lot on our plate, and but we can handle it. It was given to us because we can handle it. Um, we should be out in groups. You know, this group take this group take that, and lead the charge of getting out here in these streets and talking to our people, especially Gen X, Gen Z, and the millennials, because we outnumber the boomers. We outnumber them. And they're the ones that's going to be running to the vote to running to the ballot to vote for Command Me for the most part. They're just going to vote Democrat, period, across the board. I'm literally dealing with it right now with my mother, who is 69, and my aunt, who is 75, and my uncle, who is 67. Uh, so they don't care. They're just going to vote Democrat across the board. So if that's the case, and we outnumber them, and we outnumber these boule D9 cult, we need to get out here in the streets and talk to our people. I have a proposal. We still have a little bit of time to put it together and make it happen. But time is ticking. I believe we got like 80 something days left, you know? So yeah, get out in the streets, get a bullhorn off of Amazon, put up your fucking signs, stand on the corner like these goddamn Christians be doing, and yell and scream in your neighborhoods. Go to black neighborhoods. Go to the hoods. Sit down on these porches in the projects and have these conversations with our people. Don't be scared of our people. Let them know I'm here for you. We need to have this conversation. It's very important that you are abreast and aware of what is going on, because we know all of them are not studying. They're not picking up the books. They're not turning on the news. They're not coming in these spaces. They're not doing any of this. Facebook is done. Oh my God, Facebook is done. Um, yeah. So I'm gonna keep saying it because we have to do this. This is the only way that's just gonna work. And not only that, if they don't give us what I want, give us what we want. We need to put our fucking foot down and boycott. Boycott all they shit. Do a total 360, 100% boycott every fucking thing until they give us what we want. Period. We want reparations. Whatever we asking for. If they don't fucking give it to us within their, I would say, first 6 months at the minimum, at the maximum, excuse me, we need to boycott every fucking thing, everything. But I'm a land there, Kush. Um, thank you for having the space. Again, I wish everyone a productive, prosperous day.
Thank you, sis. Thank you for coming up. Now, look, now we're talking about that gender thing, right? The whole gender affirmation thing that he's managed to throw out. The affirmative care. Now, Black Empower mentioned how they're putting tampons and pads in the boys' restrooms. They've not only did it at schools, but they've done it in workplaces. And I'm gonna tell you this: I'm not gonna say I witnessed it because I obviously don't go in the men's restroom, respectfully. But I've heard a lot of talk about it, right? But he signs this executive order for gender affirming care. And let's just get into it, because again, a lot of people are feeling like the Democratic Party is pushing this Skittle gang agenda as well. And remember, Kamala Harris is all that. Look, when it comes to that community, she doesn't have an issue getting any kind of ploy, plot, or vote for them from them. So we're gonna get into this. This is crazy. I don't like it, respectfully.
Providing legal protection to those who come to Minnesota for gender affirming health care. John Croman joins us now live from the Capitol with more about what prompted today's action. Hi, John. Hey, Rena, this comes at a time when a lot of other states are passing bills that would restrict gender affirming care or outlaw it for minors. And there's actually a bill here pending at the legislature here at the Capitol that would make Minnesota sort of a trans care refuge state. But the governor did not want to wait for that to get to his desk. When our children tell us who they are, it is our job as grown-ups to listen and to believe them. It was an event that had all the trappings of a bill signing ceremony. A huge crowd of lawmakers, advocates, and families, in this case, gathered in support of legal protections for people seeking gender affirming care for themselves or their children. But the paper Governor Walz signed was an executive order. His action comes at a time when transgender persons across the nation feel under siege. This is life-threatening. The Iowa Senate passed a bill Tuesday. Those in favor of the motion shall say aye. Barring doctors from providing puberty blockers, hormone therapy, or gender-affirming surgery to anyone under 18. Mississippi passed a similar bill last week, barring gender-affirming care.
In New Hampshire, there's a bill that would require schools to tell parents what their kid's gender is. We'll make sure that Minnesota's placed as a welcoming, loving, neighborly state where you are welcome and will be free of persecution or anything else that we're trying to see in some other states. In committee hearings, GOP lawmakers have asserted children are too young to make decisions about gender. These are damaging, lifelong procedures. They've also brought up custody disputes. If one parent brings a child here for gender affirming care and the other parent lives in Alaska, do you believe that that would be inconvenient for the parent that lives in Alaska? Many states are asking their queer people to find two
Now this is one of them folk. This is part of Skittle Game folk talking.
spaces that are comfortable, the closet or the coffin. And we are saying we are not going to accept that in Minnesota. In Minnesota, you can stay. That's Lee Finke, who is the first ever transgender member of the Minnesota legislature. Her bill on gender affirming health care has made it to the House register, so it could be taken up on the House floor at any point. The Senate version is still making its way through committees. Back to you. All right, thank you, John. Our coverage of this executive order and its impact continues tonight at 6:30 on Breaking the News. Janice Shortle spoke with those impacted by the move and those who fought to make it happen.
That's what they're on. And also, Governor Walz stands with our transgender troops. Here's a statement from him. Sorry, go ahead, Batman. Go ahead.
I just wanted to speak on the gender affirming care, and if I go too deep, and you say, "Okay, baby, we've heard enough," save that for later. Feel free. But I am black gay. For those who don't know, and I put black first. And when I say gay, I am not LGBTQ, even though the G is included in that umbrella, that alphabet soup. So by default, someone could say I'm LGBT. No, I'm not. I'm not, and don't go there. Um, I am not in terms of trans. I'm not anti-trans. And for those who don't know or know Alexis on these in these spaces, she is trans, and I don't know her position on gender affirming care. But you mess with Alexis, you gonna mess. I'm gonna mess with you. So I'm not anti-trans. I am anti-gender affirming care, puberty blockers, taking away parents' rights, um, cutting off children's breasts. That we don't do that. Um, this is just not consistent with my beliefs, and what I grew up with, and to me being Black American. So all of this, I'm in favor of those states who are opposed to gender affirming care and shutting this down. Minnesota has gone too far, and I just can't agree with that. So that's where I am on this gender affirming care. I am black gay. I am not LGBTQ, which goes there. And I want to be clear that when folks start talking about the gays, hey, back up. The gays, don't generalize. You need to start delineating, just like we are delineating our ethnicity. Delineate what you mean when you say the gays. There was someone in a space, Mark Carter. No, well, Mark Carter, yeah, Mark Carter was using the gays as a general term. I kind of laid low on educating him. I'm like, yeah, I'm really not up for the fight right now. But at some point, I need to start stepping up and educating people and letting them know, please delineate. This ain't a fight, but just educate yourself. I'll leave it there for now. Thank
So
you.
so you're saying like there's a difference between the black LGBT and then the white media LGBTQ. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
I did not go there. I stopped short. If you are on X, you'll see a lot of organizations and individuals identify themselves as black queer. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? You know, when I grew up being called queer, them was fighting words, and they still are. You call me a queer, I ain't no damn queer. But yet today's folks, young folks, I'll say young folks, will identify themselves as queer. But to me, the Q of the LGBTQ is the throwaway portion of the alphabet. Uh, and those who are queer, white folks have said that includes pedophilia and bestiality. So you don't see those as part of the alphabet. That's because they're under queer. Why would you, as a black person, include yourself as just queer? It's like you really don't know what they've done to you, how they've characterized you, and you've gone along with wanting to be part of ah, white people's agenda because LGBTQ is a white supremacy organization, and we get sucked into it, wanting to be part of and belong. And even the HRC, Human Rights Campaign, which is an organization for white men. My attorney, who was white, the attorney I was using at that time was white, and he asked me if I wanted to buy us a ticket to the gala for the HRC. And he said it was Human Rights Campaign. Me and my dumb ass thinking I'm going to an event for human rights. And I show up at the hotel and there's 1,000 white men in tuxedos. I'm like, okay, this is not quite what I thought it was going to be. I stayed. I had dinner. I enjoyed the meal, but I got the fuck out of there. I'm like, this ain't. It's kind of like being at a Klan meeting. Nothing said racist, but I just felt the energy. So, and my point with mentioning that is the HRC has had black presidents for the last few years, and these black folks don't know that they're being used as the face of the human rights campaign to piggyback our civil rights, and that's what the LGBTQ does. And they have piggybacked the 14th Amendment, 13th Amendment, and they're getting they're using civil rights to make gains and strides for LGBTQ. Um, and they use our suffering for as Black Americans for their benefit. I mean, even gay marriage. I I don't. I'm not married. I have a partner, but I mean, what benefits am I getting as a Black American by the benefits that overall LGBTQ are generating? So yeah, the queer pulls in those who are unknowing and unsuspecting, and they think they're doing something, getting they're progressing when all they're doing is just being used, and they don't even know that. I'll leave it at that for now. I don't know if I've answered your
No,
question or
you did.
not. Go
No, but
ahead.
thank you. I appreciate you answering because you didn't have to. Hey, Black and Power. Can I ask you something, Black and Power? Are you there?
Yeah, what's happening?
Would you be able to explain what you put in the jumbotron?
No, I just put up there that taxpayers' dollars does go to the DMV. They do get money from you know um, other services that they provide, but still they are state funded, which means taxpayers and all of that. That's all I put up there.
Thanks. Well, today, Governor Tim Walz signed an executive order providing. Now, how many of y'all remember AOC? AOC, the same person that was calling for Clarence Thomas and what's his face, Elio. She feels like Walter's a really good pick. Uh, we're we're talking about the same chick, right? Yeah, they're literally calling for they still calling for them people to be impeached. So we're gonna get into why she feels that Waltz is the right VP pick.
I don't always have 1 to 2 hours in my day to.
Don't forget, if you guys ever want to come up this week and come up and speak, I'll pause anything for you. We won't keep the space open too much longer. We'll probably end it around 12:30, unless anybody else wants anything else they want to say. So feel free to come up.
Actually prepare a meal and then clean up after.
Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make.
Real quick, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing Kamala Harris in the background just smiling with please. This is disgusting.
Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
A lot of people like that rule. That's Governor Tim Walz talking about reproductive rights and other issues in his first big speech as running mate to Vice President Kamala Harris. Her choice is getting applause from the political center, including independent Senator Joe Manchin, and from the left by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She joins us now only on CBS Mornings, and we're glad to have you here.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about the rave reviews that Governor Walz seems to be getting from all spectrums of your party. You've got Nancy Pelosi on one side, Joe Manchin. We have the progressives on the left. What does this mean? What does this say? It's been a long time since we've seen this kind of reaction.
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, it says that Governor Walz is a uniter, that Vice President Harris is picking a uniter for not just the Democratic Party, but for the entire United States. And that this selection of a ticket between Vice President Harris and Governor Walz is that we are seeing every American, rural America, suburban America, urban America, regardless of identity, that we want to see your interests and we want to make sure that the things that are most important to you, putting food on the table, lowering rent and mortgages, that we see the needs of everyday Americans and we're going to fight and see them in Washington.
But already the Republicans are saying, you've heard this, he's a screaming liberal, progressive. You know, people hear the word Congresswoman progressive and it's like, it's very scary to a lot of people. What does it mean to you, without talking points, in a sentence, what it means to you? And do you think your support helps or hurts the ticket at this particular time? It's certainly in the middle of the country.
Yeah, well, I think progressive means the following. Most Americans believe that money in politics has an outsized role in what happens in government. And to me, being a progressive means putting the needs of working families ahead of the needs of profit and
What about reparations?
of special interests and corporations. And so that translates into what we see in Governor Walz and the priorities of Vice President Harris, like expanding healthcare, universal school lunches, things that we care about when we're packing lunch in the morning and picking up our kids at home. And so to me, that is what progressive means, is putting the needs of everyday people ahead of the needs of special interests in Washington.
So let me ask you about the other candidates that were potentially in the running to be her choice for vice president, including Governor Josh Shapiro. There are some who are suggesting that the reason why the vice president didn't pick Governor Shapiro is because of anti-Semitism. And I did see Chuck Schumer clap back at one Republican or person who's on the right, suggesting that Democrats are anti-Semitic. And Chuck Schumer, obviously, at the very top of power in the Democratic Party as far as the Senate is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, we have Chuck Schumer, who is an incredible leader.
When you talk about anti-Semitism, everything you say nowadays could just be considered anti-Semitism. Lord have mercy. If you call it the hypocrisy in the Jewish community of how they played a role in managing slave plantations, oh, that's anti-Semitic. Lord have mercy. Get out of here with that. They throw that word out like it's fucking candy.
In the United States Senate, Vice President Harris is married to Doug Emhoff, who has been a profoundly wonderful figure, who is also Jewish. I think it has nothing to do with that. Vice President Harris had a very challenging, she had a challenge before in that we have so much talent in the Democratic Party, from Governor Shapiro to Governor Walz to many other people that she had to consider. I think that Governor Walz has many different assets that he brings to the table, and I trust her decision in making one that is best for not just the Democratic Party, but again, the entire country.
There is no mention of the war in Israel and Gaza right now. Do you think that was deliberate? Do you think that that should have been mentioned or come up in some way?
Well, I think that this is certainly an issue that's important to many Americans. They're going to want to ensure that we continue our efforts towards a ceasefire in the region, and I'm sure that this discussion will come up certainly between now and November. But we also have a wide scope of issues as well that she has to address, and I think we saw a lot of that addressed last night, including when Governor Walz was addressing issues like IVF and choice, as well as many other issues that are at the top of people's minds right now.
So you think you know Wix? Do you really?
Commercial. It's a commercial.
First up, we've got. I want to turn to Representative Cori Bush, who's part of that progressive wing known as the Squad. She lost her race yesterday, and so did Jamal Bowman here in New York. And both of them talked openly about their dissatisfaction with the war in Israel and Gaza against Hamas. What do you think that says about the Squad and sort of the state of where you all are? Because you had so much support a few years ago. And sort of as Gail pointed out, there's this question about where that party stands, which seemed to have a lot of influence and power early on in the Biden administration.
Well, first, I just want to speak to how courageously Representatives Bowman and Bush have served in Congress. And they spoke courageously on issues that are often very difficult to talk about in mainstream politics.
Right.
And I think that is one of the reasons why they have earned so much support, because they're willing to put their careers on the line to advocate for the issues that they think and viewpoints that they think are right. What I do think it means is that there is an enormous amount of influence of big money in politics. Cori Bush's race was the second most expensive primary in American history. Jamal Bowman's race was the most expensive primary in American history. And all of that money was spent against them by a big money system of super PACs and difficult to trace political contributions. That, to me, speaks to the corrupting role of our current campaign finance system and the fact that it is very hard to be a working class American that gets.
Speaking of super PACs, we did a space a while ago about how Trump's team filed a complaint with the FEC about Kamala Harris's ability to tap into the funds that were originally raised for Biden. Now, some people were torn on that topic of saying, well, her name was technically on the ticket as well, just as much as Biden. Her name just wasn't first, so she should be able to get those funds, right? And then some people were like, nah, she needs to go ahead and start all over. I was definitely one of the people that said she needed to start all over. But Trump's team filed a complaint with the I think it's FEC or EOC, whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And basically saying that the amount of funding that Kamala had gotten in a nutshell, and maybe even super PACs were even involved in this, as to why she was put in the financial position that she was in when she managed to gain those large sums of money within less than a week. They were like, that's not fair. That's not fair. We had to sit here and campaign all this time, and she's only been in this for a week and managed to get all that funding on top of whatever was donated to Biden's campaign before he decided to drop out. But here, yeah. Political theater is serious.
Elected to office and stay in office. And to me, I think that those defeats speak to the more urgent need for us to continue to advocate on these issues. And I do continue to believe that they represent many of the views of many Americans as well.
Congressman, I want to really quickly ask you about this Truth Social post from the former president of the United States, Donald Trump. And in it, he suggests that this is unconstitutional, what's happening with the vice president. He uses derogatory language to name the vice president and the former president, Barack Obama. Do voters in the Democratic Party who are not following the mainstream media or who are not on Truth Social or attending or watching former President Trump's rallies understand this is the kind of language that is circulating on Truth Social, for example?
You know, first of all, there aren't a lot of Americans on Truth Social, to your point. And so I do believe that when the president deploys, or when the former President Trump deploys his most extreme rhetoric, he is doing it in very contained spaces to a very defined audience that is almost primed for some of this most extreme rhetoric. And when he's deploying this kind of extremist rhetoric, he's not doing it in broad channels that most Americans can see. He's doing it on Truth Social. He's doing it in these smaller rallies where I think some of the most rabid and extremist elements that we see really get riled up. And so I don't think a lot of people are aware of the extent to which, whether it's his rhetoric that in which he's using derogatory terms about Vice President Harris, to the finer policy details of Project 2025, where he's talking about eliminating, and the Republican Party is talking about eliminating the Department of Education on a federal level, which is what allows us to be able to try to even the playing field for kids in rural communities and urban communities alike.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Appreciate you being here as always. Appreciate it.
Rural and urban communities. I hate when they call our communities urban communities. I think that shit disrespectful as hell. Immortal, you got anything to say to all that mess? Why AOC thinks Tim Walz is the best VP pick for Kabani? I am.
I like
Oh, there you
I like you called it political theater.
go. To me, that's exactly what it is. It's fucking political theater. I am. You got anything to say to all that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, Immortal. Go ahead.
I'm surprised he didn't get Hillary Clinton for her VP.
I'm dead. I am. You got anything to say to that or Batman? You stupid. I said once and I said again, I don't think Walter's a good VP pick. He's too questionable, just like Vance. Too questionable like Vance. Their policies, neither side still meets the requirements that we need as black Americans. But again, I do understand why people are more prone to vote for Trump. And we're gonna talk about some Hillary Clinton. You stupid. She would have really lost.
That's what she is. That's Hillary Clinton's puppet. That's her puppet on a string. And Hillary Clinton known for pimping, so it's no surprise that you would get a Kamala Harris out here on the blade. But I'm sorry I have this attitude towards this whole process. Um, and I'm sorry I just got to focus on the fact that we have the ability to change this. I'm listening to this and I'm thinking in my head, like, what I'm listening for is the cues to let me know we got them on the run. They if they ain't on the run, they definitely is shook. They stuttering. I'm looking at this, listening to this from the backdrop of the January 6th insurgency, all the way up to this man allegedly being shot at and attempted to murder. And I'm looking at that from the backdrop of all the global leaders who have been shot at, and many of them killed. Just go back over the last. You ain't got to go months.
Immortal, are you there? Oh, there you go. So look, let me just throw this out here, right? With this whole Walton and Kamami Harris situation, respectfully, I still think that it's weird that celebrities and actors and actresses came out of the woodwork to endorse her. But when we talk about what we want for reparations, when we talk about the fact that we want reparations, nothing to be found. Governor Wes Moore, has also thrown in his opinion about Waltz, right? But he's the one that decided to pardon 175,000 Black Americans of marijuana convictions, but they still got to pay to get it off their record and expunged.
Our reaction to Governor Walz is I'm ecstatic. I have had the joy of working closely with Governor Walz now for almost 19 months as the governor. He is not just my colleague; he's my friend, and he's a good man. This is a person who also, from the age of 17, chose to raise his hand to serve. And I'm proud. I joined at 17 as well, but my first military experience and exposure was I was forced because I went to military school when I was 13. This is a man who at 17 voluntarily raised his hand to serve. And when we're talking about service, we're talking about spectacular service. He finished as a sergeant major. And to be clear, for those who have been in the military, know you don't get sergeant major just because you were just kept on getting promoted. Like that, yeah, that's right. We got one there. Amen, sergeant major. If if you need any understanding about why a unit runs, look at its senior NCOs. All right, let's be clear. And he has taken that posture throughout his entire life, whether it was serving in the military, whether it was coaching, whether it was serving in Congress, whether it was raising his hand to serve as governor of Minnesota. He has served. And I'm really proud that my friend is now going to have an opportunity to serve in this capacity as well. There's another thing about the governor that I really appreciate. He's also able to get rid of this myth that somehow we have to choose. When it's like, okay, do we want to have a society that believes in having economic business growth, or do you want to have a society that can address child poverty? And he's doing what we're
Economic growth. Economic growth in Black American communities. Some people say we down there at the very, very bottom. What did Kamala Harris and Biden ever do for specifically Black-owned businesses? Does anybody know? Hmm. Got quiet real quick.
doing in the state of Maryland, saying we're not choosing. We are going to create an environment where you can have economic growth, where you can have business development, where you can have thriving entrepreneurial cultures, and we are going to end this scourge of child poverty because no civilized society allows its children to grow up in poverty. And so I'm excited for him. I'm proud of him, my friend, and I'm looking forward to the next 90 days as the country continues to know just what a good man Tim Walz is as well. Welcome back. The race to define Tim Walz is on. As we noted, the Harris campaign is out with a video detailing the Minnesota governor's biography and accomplishments, but the Trump campaign is out with one of its own. Take a listen. Kamala Harris just doubled down on her radical vision for America by tapping another left-wing extremist as her VP nominee. Tim Walz will be a rubber stamp for Kamala's dangerously liberal agenda. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they're failed, weak, and dangerously liberal. Joining me now for The View from the Trump campaign is former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Thank you so much for being here, sir. And I do want to talk about some of the criticisms you had of the Trump campaign yesterday. This was one of them. You said that our latest strategy of repeatedly labeling Kamala a radical leftist will soon fall flat. And it's interesting because the first response for the Trump campaign today to Harris picking Tim Walz was to call him a radical leftist, as you saw in that video that we just played. Are you worried that this campaign's line of attack is a miscalculation? So, look, one of the things I've also said is I believe that Josh Shapiro was going to be the VP pick. I was wrong about that. This is a decision that I think still is confusing to me that the Democrats have made, but provides a great new opening for the Republicans. I've been the first to say the last couple of weeks have not been our strongest weeks. This provides the much-needed reset that actually resets this race and opens up a clear path to victory for Republicans. The bottom line is this. Walz is a progressive when it comes to policy. He presided over the BLM riots in Minnesota, which he led. He favors health care for illegal immigrants. So let's have that debate on policy. And if we have that policy debate, believe me, the reality is going to be Republicans come out on the economy, on immigration, on staying out of foreign wars. And if this election is decided on policy, that's what this pick does. It refocuses the debate on policy. I actually think it strengthens Republican chances.
But do they need to do more than just labeling him a radical leftist? Do they actually have to talk about some of these policies as opposed to just playing the name game?
Yes, and we will, and we have to. I've been clear about that. We cannot just fall into the trap of criticizing the other side. And if we're calling it straight down the middle here, I tell you that this pick presents risks for Democrats and Republicans. The pick of Walz as VP presents a risk for Democrats that they lose centrist voters over a lot of his progressive policy positions. The risk I see for Republicans is that he is such a progressive, and he's far on the left of many of his policies, that it becomes tempting to just focus on him instead of offering our own vision of who we are and what we stand for. That's ultimately what's going to be required for us to win this election. Seal the border, end rampant crime, grow the economy, stay out of World War III, revive national pride in this country. These are things that Donald Trump stands for. These are the things that the Republican Party stands for. And I think we have to resist the temptation and risk to forget to talk about that because of the ripe criticisms that the other side makes it so easy for us to now level.
I mean, isn't the person doing that the least is the candidate himself, Donald Trump? It seems at most of his rallies, he spends most of his time just calling people names and complaining about past grievances. It's rare that he actually offers up policy prescriptions. Do you think the candidate himself needs to do that more?
Hi, my name is
Oh,
Melissa.
shit.
I'm an alumni from Avenues in Concord.
Girl,
I've
don't
never
nobody
been in
care.
treatment before, so I had no expectation.
So I respectfully disagree with your characterization there. Look at that debate, the one that actually turned this entire race around, the CNN debate. That was a policy-focused debate where, with all due respect, Donald Trump mopped the floor with Joe Biden. The reality is that was so much the case that they had to swap out Joe Biden as a consequence. So I do think that Donald Trump cares deeply about policy. The dirty little secret, if I may, in this race, is that between the two tickets here, between the two presidential candidates, Donald Trump is actually now the moderate on policy. You take the historical criticisms of the Republican Party, extreme positions supposedly on abortion, on gun control, on interventionist foreign wars. Let's just go straight down that list. Donald Trump opposes a national abortion ban against the will of many Republicans. He's taken a measured approach on gun control. He is against the Iraq War and he's against other interventionist foreign wars. These are exactly the policy criticisms that Democrats have had of Republicans for years, yet Donald Trump is to the center of many Republicans on all of those questions. So if this race does, yes, come down to policy, I think it should be a hands-down victory, not just for Trump, but for candidates all the way down the ballot. And I think that's a big part of why you want to take Walz's selection. If I may just make this one point, because I think it's important. There's a little bit of a contradiction in how they're pitching him. On one hand, they say he's this Midwestern unifier. On the other hand, he is the guy who is leveling this charge of being weird on 70 million Americans on the other side. And I don't think you can have it both ways. I do think that that's divisive. I think it's the 2024 equivalent of Hillary Clinton's basket of deplorables. And I do think that that's going to come back to hurt Democrats if Republicans keep our eye on the ball. And that's what I'm urging us to do.
Well, then I want to get back to this idea of keeping the eye on the ball, as you rightly point out. And I would also point out that no one calls people names more than former President Trump. He does that on a regular basis, did that with Governor Kemp at his rally over the weekend. But it also seems as though that the former president is still pretty focused on Joe Biden. He claimed this afternoon that Biden would try and take back the Democratic nomination. He called out several Democrats' names in the process. Do you think that's where he wants to focus his policy right now?
Well, the reality is Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are part of the same ticket that leads this country today. She's trying to claim a lot of Biden's victories. So I do think it's fair game in a presidential election to say that that sitting president owns his policy record, and so does the vice president, who's now trying to take some credit, as much as she tries, for some of those alleged successes. Let's talk about the border. Let's talk about actually how even the stock market decline of the last week is undoubtedly correlated to at least increased expectations that the market has that Kamala Harris could be the president. So I do think that's fair game to look at the Biden and Harris regime or the administration as one ticket. That's how they pitch themselves to their own voters. So I think it's fair game for Donald Trump to say that she also owns Joe Biden's policy failures. But that's a policy focused discussion that I think is good. I think the country will be better off if this is an election decided on competing visions of policy for the future. I don't think it's going to be good if either side makes this about which side is weirder, alleging weirdness of the Republican Party. I just think it's divisive. I think it is a way of alienating whoever wins this election. It's going to cost 70 plus million people to see themselves not as part of the same culture or country. Governor Walz is the one who started that. The reality is, I hope Republicans are able to take a very different path to say, this is who we are. And if we do, we win.
I mean, what you're describing, though, is not at all what Donald Trump has ever done over the course of his presidential or political career, for that matter. And you're asking him now to just completely focus on policy, not to call names, not to try and settle grievances from the past. We're 90 days out from this election. Obviously, you're calling for what appears to be somewhat of a different course when it comes to the campaign. Do you think there needs to be new leadership to try and encourage a more policy-focused campaign, or is that impossible with Donald Trump at the top of the ticket?
Well, so look, I got to be very, very careful in precise in what we're saying here. What I'm going to say is that when the media puts Donald Trump into a corner, when the far left puts him into a corner, sometimes he's left with no other choice. When you have the other side alleging that you're weird and your people are weird, of course, the most natural charge is to say, well, you know what? We have a stronger case in return. You could think about refusal to define what actually a woman is, refusal to say that men should not compete with women in women's sports, taking away gas stoves out of ordinary Americans' hands. If Republicans want to play this game, yes, I do think we have a stronger case to say the other side is weirder than we are. But I think the better way to go, and you do hear this from Donald Trump, I think the media doesn't often report on it. What does he say? He says that success is unifying. Success will be our vengeance. And I think that's an important part of the message where that's a side of Donald Trump that the media doesn't often let voters see. I think people who have been to his rallies absolutely do take that message away. And I do think the more he leans into that message, one of the things you've been hearing him say even more that I love is it's not just about making America great again. It's about making America greater than we have ever been before. That success and ambition and excellence are our heritage. These are exact lines out of Donald Trump's speeches, not the ones that get reported on. Yes, I would say stick to those messages, and I think we're going to revive this country and hopefully win this election. And dare I say, let Trump be the president who unites the country.
Okay, Vivek Ramaswamy, thank you so much for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
That was a lot to take in. That was a lot to take in right there, Black America. Batman, how do you feel about all that? Are you there? Hey, y'all went quiet on me today. I'm gonna catch y'all in the space. Y'all gonna be able to jaw jack and look them up. I think a lot of that was a lot to say, and it was a lot to say just due to the fact that, again, like I said before, I don't like either side, and I'll keep saying that again. I don't like either side, not their VPs at least. I don't feel that Tim Walz is a really good VP pick, and even Quan had mentioned this earlier as to why uh Kamami decided to pick him. Sorry, I gotta find the comment. I thought I had it. I guess I didn't. So Quan was saying Kamala picked him because he appeals to the white, blue collar men in middle America. His military record was supposed to appeal to conservatives. Unfortunately, the stolen value claims are backfiring on him. And I agree. They backfiring on him. They're definitely backfiring on him. But look, Black America, if you don't have anything else that you want to say, I guess I'm gonna have to end up ending the space a little bit early. You know what I'm saying? So hold on. Oh wait, yep, no wait, coming up. It's okay. So look, Black America, all I'm gonna simply say is this: I'm not gonna tell you where to vote. You do what you want to do. It's not my place to tell you who you need to choose or who you need to vote for. But I am gonna say this: just make sure you choose to vote in a strategic way that is gonna not only better fit your family, but it's gonna better equip the collective as a whole. But real quick, yeah, actually, yeah, I'm just gonna end it on that. So without that being said, Black America, Kush Nation out. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do not forget about the Black American Business Space. And I'll join you guys again Monday, August 19th. We're going to talk about medical apartheid, racism, and health in U.S. medicine. We're going to talk about it, have the honest conversation. Until next time, Black America, see you later.